Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. I haven't done a kitchen video in like forever, so I thought since I had kind of the kitchen to myself for a little bit, I thought I would do a quick video. I wanted to talk about inflammation, but the reason why I think it's important to be in the kitchen is because inflammation can have can come from part of what we eat, and it can be either what we eat can help inflammation or can cause inflammation. So I thought I would touch a little bit on that aspect of why so many of us struggle with inflammation, and also why some of us may be inflamed and not even know it. So as people are jumping on, I'm going to kind of go into a list of some different symptoms of inflammation, talk a little bit about what it is, inflammation is, and just kind of give a little brief overview of how to understand if it's something that you're dealing with, because I think most people do suffer from inflammation in some way. So it is important that we recognize what the symptoms are of inflammation so that we can address those and take care of them. So if you're jumping on, good morning. I think it's still morning for most people. Some of you on the East Coast are probably having lunch right now, but I will dive into this list as you guys jump on. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing today. If you guys are having lunch, if you're doing something fun this afternoon, I hope so. So anyway, inflammation. If you think about, this is a great analogy, great way to think about inflammation in general. So if you stub your toe, or you do something and automatically your body or your skin reacts, you get a red mark, or it puffs up. That's inflammation. That's your body trying to fix something because something has caused distress in the body. So your body is designed to do that naturally, which is amazing. But when that's just kind of an acute inflammation. But when you're talking about chronic inflammation, where it's just an ongoing inflammation in the body, your body is seriously trying to help fix the inflammation, and it can cause all these other symptoms in the body, and they can be very it can cause a lot of discomfort and a lot of issues. So as you guys are jumping on, I'm just talking about some different things how we can recognize inflammation in the body, why we have inflammation, and just some simple things you can do. So your body is amazing, first of all, and it is optimal when it's fed and treated with good nutrition and just taking care of yourself. But when we don't do that, our bodies respond, trying to make up for what we're lacking. So I'll go into a little bit of some of the symptoms of inflammation, but I was reading some research this morning, and one of the things that jumped out at me that was really kind of eye-opening and unnerving a little bit, just thinking about, there's a recent research study done that suggested that chronic inflammation is associated with many modern diseases that we have nowadays. We have so many diseases we just diagnose, and we have so many things that these diseases that we didn't have so prevalent not that long ago. So one of them is obesity. They are considering that a disease, and also heart disease. These are two things that my mom suffered with, and I know it was due to inflammation. I know it was due to lifestyle, poor diet, but that's not her fault. It's actually due to misinformation and misunderstanding of how to eat well. She worked with dietitians when she was diabetic, and she was given suggestions. And in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, I don't think that she was given the best information, but what she was given is what they knew. So I don't give anybody, any discredit for not knowing, but I just think that there was so much misinformation, and there still is. And we just need to educate ourselves. We just need to be aware of what can actually be beneficial and helpful for our health long term. So without further ado, I'm going to go into my list, and I'll try and keep it brief so that you guys don't get bored. But I do think it's important that we think about listening to our bodies. I've talked about being intuitive. I've talked about paying attention to what your body is trying to tell you. But if you have some of these symptoms, your body may have some inflammation that needs to be taken care of or addressed. So one of them might seem kind of obvious, but excessive weight around the midsection. That's a big sign that you are retaining or holding on to inflammation in the body. If you have high blood glucose levels, which, high blood sugar, that's a lot of people that are struggling with diabetes. They have that high blood sugar issue that they're dealing with, and that can be kind of a factor coming from inflammation in the body, digestive problems when you have, gas, excessive gas, diarrhea, bloating, just constipation, constant just kind of stuff where things just aren't right, that can be linked to inflammation. Sometimes if you're just really tired all the time, if you just feel like, midway through the day, you're just crashing, or you wake up in the morning and you're exhausted, you didn't sleep well, and you just feel like you just need, caffeine all day long to stay awake, that's not normal. And that can be part of inflammation that's in your body. You can have skin problems. If you've got things going on in your body, it can show up in your skin. It could also be, like not just like acne, but like eczema and psoriasis, reddening and blotchiness in the skin. Another thing is you might have allergies. And I know lots of people have seasonal allergies, but sometimes it's not just because you're a seasonal allergy person. It could have to do with something that's going on internally from inflammation. Another thing is puffiness, specifically in the face, under the eyes. Sometimes people suffer from that when they have allergies, but that can also be a sign of inflammation. And if you think about what inflammation is, it's your body responding to things like we talked about with your, when you stub your toe, your body instantly reacts, and it kind of goes into this protection mode, and your body's trying to protect itself when you have these symptoms. Gum disease, which is one that I had not heard of, and another one that I think is really important to notice and to consider. When you've got like depression or anxiety, brain fog, you just kind of feel like you're just in a funk. That could be due to inflammation in the body. Your body could be just unable to really focus, or your brain might not be able to focus because of inflammation, because your body is trying to deal with that inflammation. So that's a big one. And the last one that was on this list, I read this list, I was writing it out this morning. And for men, erectile dysfunction is something that is a symptom of inflammation in the body, which is another interesting one that I did not know. So that's just 10. There's probably more, but those were the top 10 that I found. So, inflammation is not just feeling bloated. It's not just, one symptom. There could be multiple things that your body is trying to tell you through different symptoms. And it kind of links back to even just being toxic. Your body, when you have toxins in your body, a lot of these symptoms are very similar, because a lot of times you have toxins in your body that cause the inflammation. They all kind of go hand in hand. So what can you do? I know I've talked about the detox, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about food and the foods that we eat. And honestly, there's 3 foods that I consider the most prevalent factors and contributors to inflammation. And if you cut these 3 things out of your diet, if you have any of these symptoms, you might be amazed at how much better you will feel. The first one is sugar. Sugar is probably the worst. It is the worst. I think sugar is a contributing factor to many diseases and many things that our bodies go under or go through, and it's just not good for us. So if you can cut out sugar, you're doing your body an amazing service. And I'm talking about also artificial sweeteners. If you've gone from regular pop to diet pop I think is even worse, because it's made with artificial sweeteners and so many other things. So I would cut out pop in general, but sugar. The other one is gluten. And I know there's controversy. People, they talk about gluten is really not that bad, but there's so many things that gluten can do to the body. It's been proven. It's been, people that give up gluten, all of a sudden they lose that brain fog. They lose some of those symptoms that they're dealing with. So cutting out gluten, watching your carbs, eating carbs that are, more like a sweet potato, or even, starchy vegetables are a great source of carbohydrates. You don't need to go for bread and for, high carb, high gluten containing carbohydrates. And then the last one is dairy. And dairy is one I struggle with, because I do love dairy, but I don't know, and I don't think I have symptoms from dairy, but I don't feel like it's the best source of, protein or calcium for myself. It's just not something that I feel like my body needs all the time. There are certain types of dairy, like goat cheese and things that are more digestible for me, that I still enjoy, but on a, not less often kind of basis. So dairy can be a very big contributor to inflammation. So if you are thinking that you have any of these things, these symptoms, or just kind of don't feel quite right, try cutting out those 3 things. And then you can slowly reintroduce, I would never reintroduce sugar, but you could slowly reintroduce gluten or dairy and see how your body responds. But you can't do an elimination and then try to introduce everything back in all at once. You have to do it gradually to kind of see how your body responds. So I hope that helps. I didn't happen to see if anybody had any questions, but if you do, I would be happy to go back and answer those after the video. And save this video, because the list I think is super helpful. And if you know anybody that is questioning whether or not they're dealing with inflammation, maybe they've been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, a lot of times those things are linked to inflammation, and there's ways to get rid of that inflammation. And like I said, the detox, food, just kind of doing some things that your body, it's going to be more optimal if you do these things for your body and pay attention to what your body's trying to tell you. So I wanted to share with you what I was going to make for dinner tonight, because I have some ground chicken. I just cooked up some dark meat ground chicken, and I was trying to find a recipe for, what to do with it. And so I found this taco chicken salad. So I'm just going to give you quickly the ingredients. I'm not going to make it in front of you. I'm not going to do a little cooking course right here. But I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, how do you find your recipes? Or, you always eat so healthy. Well, I do it because I choose to do it, but I also, I try to be mindful, and I try to be, plan ahead. And so I cooked the chicken yesterday, I believe. So I have it ready. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I knew that, I was going to try and find something to use it for. So then I did a Google search, and I found this taco chicken salad recipe. It's paleo, it's Whole30, it's keto. So, we are not like strict on any of those diets, but I do typically look for those types of recipes because I know they're clean. But if there's an ingredient in there that I don't eat, or we don't eat, or I don't care for, then I will change according to what our likings are or what I happen to have on hand. I don't look at a recipe and see an ingredient that I don't have and think I can't make that because I don't have that particular ingredient. And I think that's where people get stuck. You can improvise so many things, and actually you can Google an ingredient and say, what can I use to replace this in a recipe? And they'll give you any number of suggestions. So I've kind of learned to just kind of like not just look at a recipe and think, well, I can't make that because I don't have X, Y, and Z. I go with what we have, and a lot of times I don't have any complaints. So far so good on just, making it my own. And I didn't have the confidence to do that, not, just a few years ago. It was something I just figured out. But anyway, I'll give you the quick rundown of this recipe, and I can add the Pinterest link in the post later. But it is, I have a bunch of seasonings here because it calls for like a ton. If you can see all of my spices here. But basically, it's kind of like taco seasoning. So you got chili powder, and I've got this smoky smoked red pepper chipotle pipe sauce or powder that I really, really, really like, and then cayenne pepper, paprika, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, and we like this Primal Kitchen mayo made with avocado oil. They also have a really good chipotle lime one that we use a lot. I have some peppers from my garden that we're going to throw in there, and it calls for red and green peppers. I don't have green peppers. I'm going to use red peppers, and I have some radishes, so I'm going to throw some radishes in there. So basically it calls for 3 to 4 cups of cooked chicken, diced chicken. I'm using my ground chicken. I have a cup of mayo, and then it's got half a cup of green pepper, half a cup of red pepper, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball, my red pepper and radishes, and then calls for a tomato. We don't eat a lot of tomatoes. I don't have a tomato, so we're not going to use a tomato. And then it's just got a bunch of the spices, the recipe for the spices, and a juice of a half a lime. And I've got this, and I love this, so I'll be using that. So basically you mix the mayonnaise and the spices, combine that, add the chicken and your diced veggies, kind of mix it all together. And I think it called for cilantro too, so cilantro is the other thing. I have some fresh cilantro. So that's it. And then you mix it, and you can garnish it with more cilantro, diced green onions, and we probably won't put it on something. You could put it on top of a salad, probably is what we'll end up doing. But super easy and clean, healthy, and we'll have leftovers for lunch tomorrow or later on this week. So anyway, just wanted to give you a quick kind of like, you don't have to make complicated meals, and if you can plan ahead, even just having your meat cooked ahead of time so that you can throw something together super quick when you're like, you come home from work or whatever, and you're like, I need to make dinner, and you want to make something healthy, but you don't have to have time to start from scratch. Having a few things made up ahead of time to save yourself some of that stress and planning earlier in the day or earlier in the week, huge game changer and time saver. So if I could leave you with anything in reference to the inflammation and to just kind of paying attention to that kind of stuff, is just be mindful of what you're putting in your body. Processed foods, packaged foods are not ideal. We know that, but they're convenient. So finding ways to make things up ahead of time that are convenient is going to save you in just kind of having to try and figure out labels and what you're putting in your body. You need to find stuff that's whole and nutritious as much as you can. I just think it's super important, but I know it's not always practical and ideal, but just educating yourself on ingredients is huge. If you are buying things that are prepackaged, making sure you know what's in there and avoiding, some of those trigger foods, which, I could talk about on another post. But hope that was helpful, you guys. And I would love to hear what you guys are doing for lunch or dinner today, or if you found the tips on the inflammation helpful. And if you want, I can go ahead and maybe type those out, just the top 10 list in my post as well, so that you guys can reference that. But share this video with anybody that might be interested in this information, that might be helpful or helpful too. Thank you again for watching my video, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.